If you are in the realm of crypto right now, you, my friend, have a hope that the market is bouncing. That is not a bad one. The market came back to the long-term support. It's bouncing from there. 200 moving average on a weekly is acting as a support. So you now go look at XRP, Ether, XRP, Bitcoin. You look at the entire market and you get like, okay, there is a hope. But right now you have to look at this. This is the zoomed in view for XRP USD. Short term, you are reaching a horizontal level of resistance as well as trend line for the pattern. They need to break through this and move higher. So that's XRP going above 0.38. You need price to do that. Why? Because we are here. When you zoom in, this is what you see. But when you take a step back, this is what we are looking at. There's the pattern. You need to break higher. So if you break here, now you're breaking from the short-term resistance and moving towards testing the medium-term resistance. And that comes close to 0.7, 0.75 range. So a breakout and a close here on a weekly, that's going to be bullish. Now, why do we lean more towards the bullish nature? Because we are looking at the RSI, which shows a possibility that it may break to the upside. And at the same time, the MACD is suggesting it's crossing to the upside. The volume in MACD is to the upside. So in terms of MACD, if you're a buyer, you're like, okay, I'm going to have some upside here. Maybe 100%, maybe 200%, who knows? But still, the price is going to rally back up. So if you were that guy saying, I should have taken some profit, I need liquidity right now, you're going to get that opportunity. The question is, will you take that? Because in the macro, this is happening. So if you are bouncing from the short-term resistance and support, then you're like, okay, short-term, you're breaking the resistance. Medium-term, you're going to test the resistance. Fine. That means long-term, you're bouncing from this support. For this, we need to manage to close above 0.36, where we are right now, close to 0.37, after 2 days. That's a weekly candle close. If we are coming back above, that shows us a lot of bullishness. Now, looking at XRP BTC, yes, we are waiting for a breakout here, and we do have room to run higher, to test these moving average, the previous high. So all of those come in. XRP Ether, yes, you're close to this resistance. You need to break higher. And as you break higher, you are going to get a lot more momentum into the market. Because the markets are looking for a lot of different news, and there are some positive and negative news. When you go look at this one, this is like, okay, world is actually going into dark places. It's actually bad right now out there. So just saying crypto is bad doesn't work, because you have to look at the reality of it and say, this just happened in the stock market. 3 trillion was wiped out. Now, you do get the market showing positive sentiment, slowly bouncing higher right now. And that's like, okay, even the markets are looking at something. The bond market was already looking at something and it was moving higher. We were discussing that on the Patreon and discussed in a detailed post, right? So now, when you look at this, okay, you kind of get a little bit of negativeness saying Celsius may go bankrupt. They may file for bankruptcy. Now, they do go through and look at different organizations. Say another crypto project actually came in with help. They kind of didn't go through. But right now, if Goldman Sachs is going to raise this and try to buy that before they're going to go bankrupt, for me, I think that's going to work. Why? One is a crypto institution, which is going to get wiped out. But the other one who's going to buy that, or at least preparing to buy that, is a traditional institution with a huge war chest. What does that actually mean? Even though this happens in the short term, which is negative, long term, this asset class is going to thrive. Otherwise, these big guys, they will never put their money on this asset class if they think this is not going to work. Now, yes, short term, you'll get these kind of news which are, not that great. But why is all this happening? Because you don't have that governance model. You can be on proof of work. You can say, okay, we work on consensus model, but what type of it? proof of work, proof of stake, federated Byzantine algorithm. You actually go through all this and you're like, okay, FBA works fine for me, right? That's federated Byzantine agreement. And you're like, okay, that looks great. But inside this market, you have a lot of other stuffs happening. And if you are focused, you're like, okay, this is not a good sign. This is going to be another short-term bad news, most likely. Now, you do have to look at the stock market and ask yourself, okay, where are we actually going? S&P 500 is bouncing, but what would be our resistance? We do have it here. So you are going to test that. Fine. What's Dow Jones doing right now? It's breaking through this one. So next one is going to be again the top of this one. So you do get a little bit of room to run. Till when is the question, right? Till when is that big question? Because you looking at the market right now, oh, if we get this for another 10 days, another 2 weeks, 3 weeks, that's going to be great. Yes, it is going to be amazing. You are looking at fundamental changes in the economy and those announcements are going to come next month. So how can you be prepared? Stick till the end and you will understand that. Welcome to the Scientific Investor family, where we discuss crypto and science behind investing regularly. Now, we've been going through stuffs which you really need to watch, because I personally think like, okay, this coming 12 to 18 months or 24 months, we're going to get a lot of millionaires, billionaires, trillionaires in this market. Now, when I say that, some of them are really like, do you really think like that? I'm like, if these guys are entering with 2 billion, that's just adding on to their portfolio. That definitely means they're already heavy in the market. And if you have seen what CZ Binance was talking, a huge ratio of what's happening in Binance is coming from institutions. So yes, in the total population of 8 billion around the world, you do get only 5% here in crypto. Within that, majority are held by institutions. Now, there are some whales who are holding this from 5, 6, 7 years. They also will reach the top list. But if you are new in the market, if you have came in the market last 2 years, you're accumulating. You're in that process of making money. Now, while you go through that, you will see these bad news. And behind that, you have to look at long-term scenario. These guys don't invest for a year. These guys invest for long-term. So if they are going to become trillion-dollar companies, they don't actually care you becoming a $1 million guy, right? Because you are in that 5%, right? Just 5% in the world. 95% out there is still gonna have hard time. We just saw what's happening here, right? That's the majority of people. We should feel bad for them. And once you've made it, you should be trying to help them. But again, you have to put your safety, your family safety, all of that first, and then try to help them. Fine. Now, if you really think you can make in this market, you need to know what are the opportunities popping up in this market. You need to understand how you can position yourself in this asset. Hey, this is XRP BTC, right? We were talking about this. If we break higher here, that definitely means XRP is going to go to the upside or BTC is going to drop. Then what happens? We break to the upside. We even break above the support turn resistance there. And then you see XRP rallying. Now we were saying like, okay, if that happens, this one is going to actually move higher. What happens? The market decides XRP is going to move higher. Same here. We were talking about StarG, saying, okay, this is an asset which is closing in and preparing for wave 2. Wave 2 is the biggest wave, right? And if you know your targets, your measured moves, you're going to make money. And what happens? They in the StarG, they're like, okay, you're breaking in, you're detailing that, and you're like, okay, you just bounced. And is that all? No, you are continuing that bounce. You're breaking through that. You are having different targets. You're breaking through that. So if you were in this market a little bit back, it's not that too early, right? It's a month back. We are talking about this. So you had a month to accumulate if you were looking positively. Then the market happens to be bouncing. And as it bounces, you have opportunity. So it's like, 50% for 1 year. If you are there from a week, it's already running like 80%. It's not actually a bad deal, and it's not only one asset in the market. You have a lot of other assets showing, okay, I'm bottoming out. We were talking about this clearly, right? And as we discussed through these on the Patreon, we were like, okay, this is an area where I think you can look at this one. This is a good option. That's what I actually told. And if you are looking at that right now, it is up 100%, close to 100% a year in dollar terms, even with all these volatility, and 200% up against Bitcoin. But this week, it's already 30% up. Fine. Now you look at different assets. Now, this is not like, one or two assets. You have long list of assets which are bottoming out right now. We were like, okay, this need to hold, and if that holds, we are going to run high. By the time we had 88% correction, those who are entering, they have already doubled down. That's why we were saying this, right? Okay, we have another opportunity to break through this. Last time we broke through, we went parabolic. So this time we'll have to watch how the market behaves, because the RSI is still holding on to this. It did not actually break below. It's bouncing from there. And right now what happens? Price breaks higher. The technical analysis gives you that edge over the market, and we try to stay updated on a regular basis. That's why here in the Scientific Investor family, we do these posts. So if you want these kind of updates as the market reverse, you do have to look at that link in the description below. Now, it's not like you're going to spend $100,000 for some information. You're spending a little amount of money for a ton of information, only if you want to do that. So guys, now let's actually break into this one. Let's actually detail through this. Fine. You see the market doing a lot of different stuff, and the volume is changing. You're like, okay, Bitcoin is only having 24 billion. Where's the other money? A lot of them have been kicked out. A lot of them who are leveraged are kicked out. So that's why we say in crypto, you have rules to follow. Inside investing, you definitely have rules to follow. I completely agree that. But especially in crypto, you have a set of rules which you should never violate. Even if you try and that happens to be a bad time, you're wiped out. You lose 80-90% of your portfolio then and there. You don't want to do that, right? How do you get to this information? How do you actually look at this information? Like, fine, okay, I see this. This is a chart. I can see what's the support, what's the resistance. I'm looking at a possibility for breakout. Why? The MACD is here. The RSI is here. Price is just below the resistance. So most likely you may actually get a breakout. What does that mean? Here, now this is XRP Ether and this one is XRP USD. So against Ether, if you show that you have a tendency to go higher, that means against USD, you should have even long move to the upside. Now, how do you know these kind of stuff, right? Just looking at the charts, how can you say there is a possibility like this? Now, no one knows for sure. And if a bad news comes, as we talked, short-term bad news is, that can change this. But just looking at the charts, how can you master this? You need to know the rules. Now, just knowing the rules won't help you. You need the skill sets to know how the market works. So how can you learn that? Yes, you can read through books and get this from big guys who have done this from 10, 20, 30, 40 years in this industry, right? We go through those books. We have detailed that in our previous video talking about that. We are trying to detail it in a way that all of you now stand a chance to make a ton of money. We were discussing through like, okay, why you should know this. We were clearly giving you that point, why I bought this asset and what you should look at before you invest. Right? All of those stuff boils down to this one. It gives you the skill set, and that skill set combined with the set of rules, you're gonna make money. Now you'll ask like, okay, what are these set of rules? I'm gonna come up with that video, don't worry. I'm gonna break that down into bits and pieces so you now know like what are the most important rules. Mostly I follow like 8 to 10, 12 rules, and I think around 10 of them is like strong. You never should be violating that. And the side of skill set to identify this, again, I'm gonna come up with a video on that one where I personally believe the skill sets which allow me to do this is like, again, I think 7 to 10 or 10, say, where you shouldn't be compromising. If you learn those skill sets, now you have an advantage in the market. Now, it's not going to be only in Patreon. I'm going to put that in the YouTube itself. So all of you have a chance to try and learn that rules and try and master the skill sets and put those both together to make a future, to bake into it. Right? You're just going to be like, okay, I have an option. Just open that microwave, put it in, bake it and take it out. But this is not going to be a 2-minute process. It's going to be a long process because I mastered these skills in last 7 years. And that's one of the reasons why I do this and post this regularly for the SI family in the Patreon. Now, XRP right now is moving higher. You have the RSI slowly breaking through your resistance levels. That's actually a great information for you. Why? Because that actually shows the increase in buying momentum is going to test this level of resistance. Now, if you break that one on a daily, you have room to run to the upside. So you would be testing close to this moving average. That's a 200-day moving average on a daily chart. Fine. Now you're like, okay, let me take another step back. So as you go through the charts, you're like, okay, there is a huge possibility XRP can run against Bitcoin, against Ether. That does mean that on the USD terms of this has to go higher. Why? Otherwise, Ether should go to a 500. Otherwise, Bitcoin should go to 18, 17, 15 again. And XRP should stay here. Now, that's a possibility. You can't neglect it. But what you are looking in the market right now is money trickling down. You had Bitcoin with 50 billion daily volume. Now it's half. So where is this money going? You are looking at Tether, which is like 67 billion. And then USDC at 55, Binance coin increasing. So fine. You're like, okay, stable coins are having huge volume compared to before. That actually means a lot of people are just waiting for the confirmation of something to enter back into the market. So as soon as you break through these levels, as soon as you get the confirmation, these big guys are going to enter. You just heard it from Binance directly, right? Majority of their trades are coming from institutions. They will be trading based on algorithms. They will be trading based on mathematics. And that's complex stuff. If you really understand how the market works and the price fluctuations in the market, you don't actually need to be paying someone 40% as fee. Now, 40% is too big. But yeah, if they can actually give you what others can't, that makes sense. But if you're at a point where I'm not an institutional guy, I can't actually put in millions of dollars, then you are here in the crypto market where it's all decentralized. You can enter into any asset which you think is going to perform well, and you can do your personal research to make sure that you're not entering a junk asset. Now, we've gone through that, right? We've actually given you why and what. So you can use that to make yourself comfortable entering in an asset. Fine. Now you're looking at Ether. Ether is like, okay, it's at a strong base. It's bouncing from that base. It's a good news because if you break that one to the downside, you're going to go a long way to the downside. Now, you ask me, watching this, I'm like, there is a huge possibility the bears looking at this one. If SEC had to step against Ether, that's really going to be bad. And this stuff showing 3 ACs in registered there is like, okay, you don't have the regulatory support. So automatically the big institutions can't back you. So the liquidity is drying up. That may hit the market. But stock markets are showing you a rally. Bond markets are showing you a rally even before that. Bond traders usually look for like, simple indicators. They don't have all this crazy stuff in the stock market where you're like looking at the history, looking at the charts and all. There, yes, you do get the history part, but you don't look at a lot of different indicators. You are like, okay, what's the inflation? Can I beat the inflation? That's it. So if they anticipate the inflation is going to go down, peak somewhere here, that means the market is going to rally. Because if the inflation is peaking, Fed don't need to actually go to 3, 4, 5%. They can just hike one more time, most likely, or 2 to the max, and then start reducing, which would be an ignition for the market. And I think, yeah, that button is going to be pressed soon. So you see a rally in the stock market before the midterm elections in US. And, Biden administration is going to say like, okay, we had so much bad news, bad stuff, bad days, but we sorted it out. And that's how, politicians work. And that's how politics works. Right, so they try to make a bread for them and their family in different ways, where even if it's from your family taking it, robbing you and putting it there, That does mean something. You may get offended if you're a politician, but majority of them are like that. So right now here, you are looking at the market and saying, okay, I have a huge opportunity. Yes, you do have a huge opportunity. Why do I say that? If you bounce from this, we already talked about this. You're going to run 100, 200, 300x. And a lot of different assets are going to give you that option to be placed well. Position yourself correctly so that you are not missing this part. Even if you are just going to test the previous all-time high of 3.5, that's a 10x from here. Now make sure you do take profits. You do have targets. Because we do. We do. So if you don't, make sure you know these targets and how to set these targets. You can use wave principle. You can use pattern trades. You can use trend. But these bad news which we talked about, if they are hitting short term, there's going to be massive volatility. Your targets are still there, but your time horizon is expanding. So it's all based on time. If you're going in credit and you're saying, I don't have too much time, that's going to be painful. And never put everything in an exchange and say, okay, that's safer. Because at one point, if they go bankrupt, that's done. You don't want that. You need proper liquidity. You need to move that into your ledger. It's safe. Now, don't move everything together. If you mess a number, it's gone. So don't do that. Do a little by little. It takes more time and effort, but that's the safest part to do it. Fine. So if you are really receiving value, hit that like button. Let's actually keep the like going on, right? And if you want, again, detailed information for any assets which you are in, because right now you look at the market and like a lot of them are starting to move. Do you think they are going to break higher or hit a big resistance and come back down? If you want to look at those perspectives, right, this, you're seeing, okay, we are getting a breakout. But for XRP, you do have room to the upside like this. Not every asset has that room. Some has higher, some has a tiny bit. And a tiny bit most likely means you're going to get rejected. Right? If you want that information, you can look at the Patreon. The link is in the description below. So guys, I'll meet you on the next video. Bye for now.